I spent the next morning packing my bags in preparation to go home. I'm going to miss this place. A knock at my door startled me out of my thoughts. I opened it to see a man standing there with my phone in hand.
The games are over, so you can have this back.
He handed me my phone.
Now, if you could please hand me your tokens from yesterday's games so I can take them to be counted.
Yeah, sure. I quickly grabbed the tokens from my dresser and handed them to him. So, when will the winners be announced?
Tonight, at the ball. Good luck, Miss C.
With that, he turned on his heel and walked away. It's really over. I closed the door before glancing at my phone. 3 missed calls. I dialed the number I knew by heart and waited for the person on the other side to pick up.
Emma, hey. I honestly didn't expect to hear from you right now. I mean, you'll be back home tomorrow.
Mira.
What's wrong? Do I need to beat someone up?
I laughed at the seriousness in her voice. No, it's nothing like that.
Then what is it? You sound sad, and I don't like it when you're sad.
I just... Why is it so complicated?
Did you sleep with someone?
No.
Too quick an answer. So there's someone you want to sleep with.
I'm not even sure how to respond to that.
You're not denying it? This coming from the same person who said that the food was more interesting than any of the guys she's dated.
The food was better than all those guys.
But it's not this time around?
Actually, the food was much better this time around as well.
So then what is it about this guy that makes you want to jump his bones?
I don't want to jump him. Actually, I don't know what I want. He's rude, conceited, arrogant, and...
Okay, he must be super hot because what the hell do you see in him? Still, you've never gone for looks before. What's it about this guy that has you all tied up in knots?
I don't know. That's the confusing part. I mean, sure, there were times when he was actually nice, but if it was about how nice he was, I would have fallen for Mr. Wolf. So you know what? I think I'm just going to move on and forget about it. We're as different as night and day anyways.
Emma...
It'd never work between us. Heck, he doesn't see me as an equal already. I don't even want to think about what he'd say if he found out that I'm only here because I won a stupid radio competition. I paused. Saying it out loud made me realize how much it actually hurt when I thought about it.
I'm not gonna lie. The guy sounds like a grade-A jerk. So when you get home, I'll have your favorite movie and 2 cartons of ice cream waiting. And we can work on putting him out of your mind.
Why does it hurt so much? Thanks, Mira.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
I talked to Mira a bit longer before we said our goodbyes and I went back to packing. When I'd packed all my clothes, I paused and glanced at the Mr. Bandages and kitty dolls sitting side by side on my bed. I tried to ignore them, but after a few moments, my resolve wavered. I can't just leave them behind. I shoved them into my suitcase before I could change my mind. I glanced at the clock and let out a sigh. It was time to get ready for the ball. When it was time, a servant knocked at my door to escort me to the ballroom. As I walked through the corridors, I couldn't help but remember the excitement of the last 2 weeks. I'm really going to miss this place. As the doors opened, I was met with the now familiar sight of the crowd of beautifully dressed people milling around. I looked around for my teammates. I spotted Mr. Bandages leaning against a wall, and Mr. Wolf blushing furiously in the middle of a crowd of women. As for the Count, I couldn't see him anywhere. I walked over to Mr. Bandages. So, where's the Count? I didn't think he'd miss the ball.
Just because you can't see him doesn't mean he isn't around. This place is huge.
I guess you're right. The light suddenly dimmed as a spotlight illuminated a single figure, Erik.
Good evening to all my guests. I would once again like to thank all of you for attending this event of mine. It wouldn't have been the same without every single one of you here. I'd also like to thank my staff for being so understanding and working so hard ensuring the games ran as smoothly as they did. Now, as some of you have already figured out, this is the last annual Valdemar Spooktacular that I will be hosting.
A murmur ran through the crowd. I looked up at Mr. Bandages to see his unhappy, silent expression.
It's truly been an honor for me. If anyone else wishes to pick up the tradition, by all means do so. Invite me, and I'll gladly join in the games. Just don't ask me to host them.
Humorous laughter ran through the crowd.
I'm afraid I've gotten too old for this. Well, that's enough of that. Please, everyone, enjoy this final night. I will announce the winner of this year's games in a few hours. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Huh. I never thought I'd see the day when he'd admit to being too old for anything.
The two of you are close?
He likes to think so.
And you?
I neither confirm nor deny it.
Well, at least you have someone that can put up with you.
Could you
Could I what?
put up with me?
I've lasted 2 weeks, haven't I?
You did kick me.
That was totally your fault.
Maybe, but I don't know any other women who would.
So you sneak up on a lot of women then?
Huh, as if. They're usually coming after me. Especially now that...
He cut himself off and glared at the glass in his hand. Now that
my parents aren't keeping quiet about the fact that they want me to settle down.
What about you? Do you want to settle down?
No. And even if I did, it wouldn't be just because my parents wanted me to.
That's true. It wouldn't last if you're not ready for it, or only doing it because you feel obligated to. Not to mention you might get killed in a fit of jealousy if you cheated.
Hey, give me some credit. I've never cheated on anyone.
And have any of your relationships been long enough for it to be a possibility?
Well, no, not really, but that's beside the point. I wouldn't cheat.
I guess I'll have to take your word for it. At least Erik won't have to find a murdered friend one day.
You're scary, you know that?
It's part of my charm.
Right.
I'm going to get something to eat. Do you want anything?
No, I'm fine.
Suit yourself. I left Mr. Bandages to grab a plate of food. After a while, Mr. Bandages took a seat next to me.
You're always so happily stuffing your face.
I ignored his remark in favor of trying to figure out why he came over. Did you get hungry?
Is food the only thing you care about?
Well, no. I care about my friends.
Friends are... good. The right ones, anyway.
Yep.
Still, is there nothing else here that interests you? Look around. You're surrounded by some of the richest and most famous people in the world. But I haven't even seen you blink once.
Those things don't matter to me. People are still just people. It's not like I'll see them again, so why should it matter?
Still, many of the people here would gladly flirt around to improve their connections. Heck, after the first event, I think Erik was scarred by just how many people hooked up. I remember him mumbling about needing to have sheets burned, rugs replaced, and... well, yeah.
I didn't need to know that. Besides, the food's more interesting than a potential hookup.
So there's no one you find attractive?
Of course there are attractive people here. I mean, just look at Erik.
You find Erik attractive?
Of course he's attractive. Do you think all these people flock to him just because he's the host?
I could probably... Nah, never mind. So, anyone else?
Mr. Wolf is really cute. That crowd of girls just says it all.
He's also pretty spineless. Seriously, why do girls go crazy over him?
He's sweet and kind. He's totally the kind of guy you want to bring home to meet your parents.
It's not like you need to worry about bringing some guy home to meet the parents.
No. I guess not.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. That was insensitive of me, and you'd think I'd know better, I need some food.
Right.
I really need to remember not to have alcohol on an empty stomach. Hey, how about some more food? Anything here that you haven't tried yet? Like, maybe that?
He pointed towards the untouched centerpiece. That's the centerpiece.
So?
So, it looked weird if we ate it.
Erik didn't have all this food prepared just to be stared at. Well, okay, that may have been part of it, but it was mainly to be eaten.
He walked over to it and cut a few chunks off before anyone could say a word.
Here.
I eyed him warily as he handed a piece to me. Are you feeling okay?
I'm fine.
Are you sure? You're acting a bit weird.
I may be a tad tipsy, but only a little.
Are you sure you're not just completely drunk?
If I was drunk, I'd be shouting out my secrets to the entire world. I'm an honest drunk. Erik thinks it's because I'm too guarded normally, but really, what does he know?
And you don't think this current bout of honesty might be caused by you being drunk?
Of course not, didn't you hear me? I'd be shouting out my secrets, and seeing as I'm simply talking and haven't said anything too damning, I'm fine. I'm still sober enough to know that I should not share certain things.
I looked down at the chunk of the centerpiece he'd given me. I could totally take advantage of this. Before I could think too much about it, I shoved the piece into his mouth. To sober you up a little. He chewed and swallowed before looking at me with a curious expression. The honesty is ruining my opinion of you.
I see. Well, thanks.
You're a very talkative drunk, you know that?
Yes, I'm well aware of that. Although the volume does increase with my alcohol intake as well.
So why'd you let yourself get drunk anyway? Someone could really take advantage of you like that.
I wouldn't mind you taking advantage. Wow, that sounds so much like something Count would say. I wasn't really paying attention. I guess the waiters kept topping up my glass because, well, it really was only one.
Suddenly, the lights began to dim and a spotlight shone on Erik.
Finally.
A hushed silence descended through the room as everyone waited in anticipation for the winners to be announced.
It's finally time for what you've all been waiting for. I know you've all worked hard, and soon you'll know if it paid off. But first, let's reveal the prizes. The first prize is a one-of-a-kind set of jewelry fashioned by the upcoming jewelry maker of the year, Reno. Next is a Lambo Vino. For those of you who aren't car enthusiasts, it's a very limited edition car capable of amazing speeds. There's also an all-expenses-paid trip for 4 to the Maldives for 2 weeks. The tickets are transferable, so they can be given away as gifts if the winners aren't interested. And lastly, there's a magnificent framed painting of Kippy painted by yours truly.
The crowd groaned loudly at this.
Okay, I kid. I didn't paint it. It was painted by an up-and-coming artist, though. Now remember, all 4 of these prizes go to the winning team to divide however they wish. Okay, and the winners are... Mr. Wolf, Mr. Bandages, the Count, and Miss Archer! Congratulations! Give it up for them, everybody!
The crowd burst into applause, even as Mr. Bandages and I stared at each other in shock.
Holy crap, we actually won.
Please come up to collect your trophy. Yes, there's a trophy too.
Mr. Bandages and I made our way to the stage, and I noticed Mr. Wolf and the Count do so too. Mr. Bandages fixed Erik with a glare.
That car is mine.
That's for you to discuss with your team. It's no matter of mine.
We did it!
We did! The Count just remained silently smiling.
Aren't you excited, Count?
I watched his eyes widen and dart around before he nodded.
Don't worry about that guy. He's probably just afraid of what he'd say after one too many, Mr. Wolf.
Speak for yourself.
I am.
You're drunk, Mr. Bandages?
Just a little bit tipsy. Nothing to worry about.
Are you sure?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, then.
And that concludes the final night of the Valdemar games. There's still plenty of food, drinks, and music, so don't hurry off just yet. Enjoy this final night!
He turned to give us all a final handshake. I noticed him whisper something to Mr. Bandages as he shook his hand that made Mr. Bandages laugh. The crowd barely waited for him to finish shaking my hand before converging on him once again.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get used to seeing that happen.
It is pretty disturbing. So, What did he say?
That I haven't been drunk in years, but of course I'd choose tonight to do it. Now, back to business. That car is mine. Divide the rest however you want, but no one else is touching that car. Also, Count wants the Kippy painting.
We all turned to him in shock.
Don't look at me. I have no idea what goes on in that head of his.
The Count just nodded and walked off. So that just leaves the trip and the jewelry.
The jewelry is beautiful, but I think it'll suit you much more than me.
Oh, well then you can have the trip.
Well, I'm not sure I have 3 other people I'd want to spend 2 whole weeks with.
Why don't we all take a ticket and have a reunion one day? The tickets don't have an expiration date.
That sounds awesome!
Hey, Mr. Wolf, didn't you say you'd sing us a victory song?
I did, didn't I?
Well, go up there and show us what you've got.
You just want to know who I am.
I won't deny that. Now, are you gonna sing or not?
Mr. Wolf spoke to the musicians that were playing before heading towards the mic. He seemed like a different person as he grasped it.
Okay, if I can get everyone's attention, I'd like to dedicate this song to my newfound friends. I've spent 2 unforgettable weeks with them. I hope they enjoyed it as much as I did.
A familiar tune began to play and heads swiveled in his direction.
Oh gosh, that's Tiger! I touched Tiger!
That timid wolf is Tiger? Will wonders never cease?
Damn, Mira's going to be so jealous. He finished his song and smiled at us, before being carried away by a sea of screaming fangirls.
See? That's how girls normally react.
We should help him.
Neither of us would be able to get him away from those vultures.
But we should.
If it gets too rough, Eric's staff will intervene. Don't worry about it. Besides, I may be getting a bit dizzy.
What? Ugh. We need to get you some fresh air and more food. I grabbed his arm and tugged him towards the balcony, grateful when he didn't resist.
You're not going to throw me over the railing, right?
Do you really think I can lift someone as big as you? He brought his hands up to wrap around my waist and looked down at me from top to bottom.
You're right. You're tiny.
I pulled away from him before making him sit on a bench. Wait here and don't move. I'm going to get you something to eat. I quickly made my way back inside to fill up a plate while trying not to think of how his hands felt. He's drunk, and even if he wasn't, he said he wasn't looking to settle down, and I'm not interested in a fling, so I really just need to stop thinking about this. I let out a deep sigh in an attempt to compose myself before going back outside.
I haven't moved, see? Do I get a reward?
Here's your reward. I shoved the plate into his hands. He looked down at it for a moment before sighing.
I was hoping for something different.
What could you possibly be hoping for? He was silent for a while, and just when I thought he wasn't going to answer, he put his plate down.
This.
I once again felt his hands on my waist, but this time they pulled me towards him as he brought his mouth towards mine. My mind went blank the moment our lips met. Without conscious thought, I found my hands moving to tangle in his hair and pull him even closer. The hands at my waist drew my body flush against his. The sudden contact snapped me back to my senses, and I called upon all my self-control to pull away. Oh crap, that was not good. But it felt so... No, bad thoughts. I don't want a one-night stand, and that's definitely where that was headed.
What?
He scrunched up his eyes and brought a hand up to his head. He looks kind of cute, like... No! Stop having those thoughts!
I really shouldn't have drank so much.
His words were like a bucket of water falling all over me. Of course. He's drunk. That's why You should eat. I should be heading back. I clamped down on my emotions and turned to leave.
No, wait!
He reached out and grabbed my hand to stop me before letting it go almost immediately.
Don't go. Please.
Did he just say please? You don't look too well. I'll go and find someone to take you back to your room.
No, I want to talk to you.
What we were doing wasn't talking. Although we did use our... Damn it! If this is about that kiss, don't worry about it. You're drunk and...
My state of inebriation has nothing to do with it. I can still make rational...
You're saying you would have done it sober?
I did it before, didn't I?
Yes. That. I've been trying not to think of that. You ran away last time.
I'm not exactly doing that now, am I?
No. But then again, you seem like you'd fall over if you tried to stand, let alone run.
I'd like to refute that, but I probably would fall over. Still, I wouldn't run even if that weren't the case. Not this time.
Oh. What makes this time different?
This time, I know what I want.
And what's that?
You. And if the way you kissed me back was any indication, you want me too.
You're too full of yourself. I was just caught up in the moment, but don't worry. I'm thinking very clearly now, and I know it's time to leave.
Do you think I'd offer myself to just anyone? Do you have any idea how many people would jump at the...
Well, I'm not most people, okay? If you want to fling, then just head back into that ballroom and find yourself someone willing.
You were very willing just a few minutes ago, so what is it you're angling for? Marriage? Well, I've got news for you. I'm not about to commit myself to someone I've only known for a fortnight.
I knew you were going to be like this. Do you really think I want to spend the rest of my life with an insensitive jerk like you? Besides, I didn't even know your parents were pushing you to marry. You're the one that told me.
Well, if you're not looking for marriage, then what's the problem? We can just keep hooking up until one of us gets bored and...
Hell will freeze over before I become one of your floozies. I'm a person, not some toy you can pull out whenever you feel like and then forget about.
I'm offering you a hell of a lot more than I offer most. A monogamous arrangement of indeterminate time at my own expense.
At your own expense? Do you think you can buy me?
If there's one thing I've learned, it's that women, no matter how rich, still love being lavished with gifts and money.
Right, and because I'm not rich and successful like everyone here, I'm going to prostrate myself in front of you for whatever scraps you deign to give me. Is that really what you think?
Wait, what?
But here's the thing. I wouldn't take a cent from you if I was starving. I don't care about your money or whatever else it is you think I want.
Hold up. Go back to the not rich and successful part. I'm not sure I...
Why don't you go ask your friend Erik, because I'm done talking to you. With that, I stormed back into the mansion and headed for my room. I had barely even left the ballroom when I heard the sound of feet rushing after me. I didn't even look back, just quickened my pace. Leave me alone!
I'm afraid that ignoring your obvious distress would be very ungentlemanly of me.
I almost faltered at Erik's unexpected voice. Don't you have fangirls to flaunt around for?
They found another to amuse themselves with. So, I'm all yours if you want to talk about what ails you.
Well, I don't.
Forgive me for prying, but I couldn't help but notice that you disappeared into a balcony with Landon before storming off. Did he upset you?
You can ask him for the details. I'm going back to my room.
I've known him long enough to realize that he probably put his foot in his mouth again. I don't know what he said to you, but I can assure you that while he's not great at expressing his feelings, he does always mean well.
I think you're giving him too much credit. He's an ass.
Landon, well, he's never been good with saying what he means, and when he tries, he tends to do so in the worst way possible. So yes, he does come across as a bit of an ass. Even so, he wouldn't intentionally...
Why are you defending him so much? You don't even know what he said, and yet you're rushing to his aid like some kind of white knight when he probably wouldn't even do the same for you.
He actually has gotten me out of a lot of tough spots. He's been one of the few people that's always been 100% sincere with me. He's also one of the few people in this world that I have the privilege of calling a friend. It's because of that I'm willing to butt in now.
Why would it even matter what I think of him or what he said? It's not like I'm ever going to see him again. You of all people should know that.
Because when Landon starts to care about someone, he doesn't stop.
This time, I really did falter. The only one he cares about is himself.
Let's Dub Project.